All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, episode 10.
Wow.
I had
Wow,
to download an app for that, by the
it's
way. I had to go through the app store and actually find an app to do an air horn.
It's our 10 anniversary.
Yeah,
It's
we're
our
in the
special.
double digits now, baby. Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
Speaking of
Yeah.
double digits, today we watched Too Fast, Too Furious from 2003, directed by John Singleton, starring Paul Walker, Tyrese Gibson, Cole Hauser, and Eva Mendes.
So that means we're in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we're recording live from Miami.
Miami. That's right. What is in Miami? What sound effects can we do for Miami?
I don't know. Should I go through the board? It boasted about having.
Yeah, try it.
Is there a search feature on here?
I don't know. Let's see.
Um.
We are so prepared and so
Miami.
professional.
Oh,
Let's
it comes up with.
Mamma Mia?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
Good
see
to
if
have
there's
apps.
a Florida one. Nope.
No, Florida. I guess
Um,
you'd have to be like, I don't know, what is Florida? Gators. And
Yeah, Gator.
Gator. But
Gator.
that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, recording at you live again from Miami. Just like saying Miami.
There's
What'd you think? Was this your first time watching through Too Fast, Too Furious?
No, I've actually watched through it a couple times.
Okay.
Which is funny. I kind of really like this movie. I mean, it's I think we've talked about it before. Not really any kind of super difficult story to talk about or anything like that.
It's dumb nonsense. It really is. I mean, like...
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, like, pretty much almost all of the movies we've watched so far have been kind of dumb nonsense. They're just fun, easy to watch movies.
I think, right. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's something to do with cars. I mean,
no, because down the line, I'm going to show you a
All
movie
right.
really makes you think.
Oh, boy.
A real thinker.
I don't know. If I have to think, that's going to hurt.
No, it's going to be a good one.
All right. So, So here's the thing is I actually really like Tyrese's character,
Mm-hmm.
Roman
Pierce.
much more than I like Paul Walker's character, Brian.
Really?
Yes. I was more entertained by his character and kind of really thought his character was cooler than Brian.
Yeah.
I really did.
Although,
I don't know. I just like them.
I do want to get into that, but I just think it's hilarious that he's on house arrest, but they let him... His RV is his house. I thought you weren't allowed 100 feet from your house. And he's like, that's why I parked next to the track. It's like, I mean...
So in other words, you could drive anywhere in the country you want to drive.
Right. And he's still in Miami.
You could drive to Hawaii. And you'd
yeah. As long as he's within 100 feet of an RV. I feel like that's a little pushing it. But that's not the only thing in this movie that pushes it. But
that was funny.
Why else is he your favorite character? Just because you're just more entertained by him?
I don't know why. I think because to me, his story of his character was a little more compelling and interesting than the character Brian that Paul Walker plays. And so I actually thought he was funnier. He had more energy. He did more stuff. Like when he pops up when the bad guys are sitting in the car and the stakeout.
Oh, yeah.
And he just pops up in their window.
Yeah.
Kind of a la...
Oh, was that when he washes the windshield?
Yes.
Yeah.
When he washes... And he actually...
Hola, amigos. And it's lighter fluid.
Yeah. And he just pops up real quick. Mm-hmm. I think he had like more energy and vitality than the other character. I mean, I think he was... And I just thought he had some fun lines. Ejectocito is like, that was the cool line from the whole movie.
Which is kind of almost interesting because in the later films, he's kind of made out to be this like kind of dopey, kind of dumb guy.
Well,
and he definitely doesn't have the energy in the later films that he has in this one. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see for me because I have not seen
the progression of it.
I've not seen many of the other Fast and Furious.
Right.
So the first one I've seen, this one I've seen.
Which next up, not that we're going to do it anytime soon, but would be Tokyo Drift.
Right, which is...
that has nothing to do with anything at all. So I don't think Tyrese comes back into the franchise until he might be in the fifth one. It might be the fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out of it for a little while.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I just thought his character had cooler lines. He had more to bring to the whole story and the movie. Because Paul, and here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing that really kind of irks me in this movie is that FBI agent. Do you remember the FBI agent that's kind of on his side? Really?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the DEA. I think it's the DEA agent who's really terrible.
Yeah, it might be Customs.
Oh, Customs.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you've got the FBI agent. Now, remember, the last movie, he was a jerk to Brian, the character Brian. He was a horrible person, forcing them on a deadline that didn't need to happen.
Right.
And he was just terrible. Then he pops into this movie like, hey, Brian, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, it's cool, you know, and help us out here, and everything's great and wonderful. Yeah, great. I'm all on your side, and everything's, I totally believe in you and trust you and everything, and yeah. And I was like, what the heck happened in between? Like, they should have had in that sequence.
Yeah.
Like,
the supercharged prelude?
The supercharged prelude, which comes in between. So I watched that again, and then I watched Too Fast and Furious. And what's funny to me is during that, they should have had, like, the two of them, like, talking on the phone or something.
Yeah,
like, hey,
making up, making amends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, like making up, like, hey, it's cool, you know, how you doing?
Yeah.
Just check it in.
Yeah, if you don't know, there's actually a mini... it's not a mini series. It's just one video.
It's just one video.
It's a short. It's essentially a short. I think it's like 10 minutes, maybe.
It's very quick, yeah.
And it links the two movies of Fast and Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. It's how Brian gets from L.A. to Miami.
It's like a giant montage, is what it is.
Yeah, it's essentially a music
montage.
video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he finds an R34 Skyline in a back lot. First of all, okay.
Which, after you explained it to me, I just thought was hilarious the second time I watched it.
It's so absurd because it's like this dusty Skyline R34, which still currently in the States is unavailable. And this is...
Yeah. So explain that whole thing about why that could never happen or wouldn't have happened at that time.
It's a 1999 Nissan Skyline Gtr. Which here in the United States, we have a 25-year import law, which means that you can't import a vehicle to drive on the streets unless it's 25 years or older. At the time of filming, this car was 3 years old. So, A, there's no way it would be dusty in a used car backlot. But second of all, there's no physical way to get one of those cars here. Now, there actually are, I think there's 10 of them here in the States.
Okay.
Imported through various ways. There was a couple that were legally imported because this was right at the time where that law became actually enacted.
Yeah.
And there's a couple production crews that were able to do it. I mean, I think there's a couple that they're just registered as Nissan Maximas. Yeah. But they're actual Skylines, which is super legal.
Okay.
And there's people that have gotten their cars taken and crushed.
Yeah. When you explained all that to me, I just thought was hilarious when I watched it the next time. Because, like, he goes into that, it's all dusty and it's sitting in the back. And, like, the dad who's running that place is telling his kid, oh, no, it's okay. He can buy it because he's, Paul Walker has cash. Brian has cash to pay for it. She's like, yeah, go ahead. And I watched that whole thing, and I'm like, well, this might be the most incredible part of this entire movie.
Yeah, finding one of those on a backlot. Yeah. Like, that is the holy grail of Japanese cars. That is the, at least right now, that is
still?
The Japanese. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Because they're still not even legal in the States. I believe 98 was the first year for the R34. It might be 99 was the first year for the R34. Okay. So we're still within that period. And so, when those cars get here, they're going to go for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow, really?
Insane. I mean, the Mark IV Supra, the Supra from the 90s is, pretty high up there.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There was actually a Mark IV Supra that went for over $200,000 here.
Jeez.
Because it was it had 5,000 miles on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The FDRX7 is going up and up and up and up and up. There's an FD that just sold for, I believe it was $75,000.
What generation is that?
That's the third generation.
Third gen?
So that's the twin turbo.
Oh, okay.
It's the only one I haven't owned.
I
don't think I honestly don't think I'll ever own one. I don't think they'll ever be obtainable for me unless I really blow up.
Honestly, I don't like the style of them. But it just
I
all
do.
Right,
I definitely. My dream FD is a red FD RX-7 on Enkei RPF ones, RPF1 wheels, which is like a silver wheel. Like they look real simple and nice.
Okay.
And I love the way that those sit, but I don't fit in FDs. I mean, I fit in them, but it's a squeeze.
Yeah,
it's a squeeze.
They look pretty small.
Tiny.
All right.
And then the other one of those, like the four of them that are kind of these highly esteemed cars, is the Acura Nsx.
Oh,
or worldwide known as the Honda Nsx. Those have kind of peaked.
Yeah.
In terms of price, you could find them for like a couple of them went for 80,000, real low mileage ones. You could pick them up for like 50. But the Skyline was like that fourth car that still isn't available, so it has this huge rarity behind it. And so so getting back to the point of the fact that he found it on a used car lot in what, Amarillo or whatever, like it was like somewhere in the southwest of the country. The fact that he found it on a used car lot would never happen. The fact that it's in the country would never happen. Besides that, okay, I know people are going to comment. There were a handful that were legally imported.
Right.
But I mean,
but it wouldn't have ended up in a used car lot in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that would have been a very tracked car if it had actually made it into the States. So
the Skyline, though, interestingly enough, used in the movies, owned by Craig Lieberman. That was his
Lieberman.
Own shout out. I mean, we're Oh yeah, I don't have the horn.
We'd have the yeah. Do we have like?
Wait, hold on. Say it again. Say it again.
Okay, so shout out to Craig Lieberman.
Did my phone mute? What happened here? Oh, I muted my phone.
All right.
There it is. There's no editing on this podcast.
Shout out to Craig Lieberman. The actual, so the Skyline.
We need like a Craig Lieberman moment sound.
I know. We do.
Craig Lieberman. We should just like, I'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll both Craig Lieberman.
But yeah, it was owned by him. So like, so
cool.
What?
No, that's very cool. And that was the thing we were talking about is we actually do get to call him out because we actually watched his name come up in the credits.
Yeah, we did. We waited for the name. And so if you don't know Craig Lieberman, first of all, we shout him out in every podcast episode.
It's a thing.
For no real reason, honestly.
Right.
But so he was essentially the car coordinator for the Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and a bunch of other films. And he actually has a stellar YouTube channel. Please pause this podcast. Go to the Craig Lieberman YouTube channel. It's just his name. And he has hours and hours and hours of behind the scenes VHS footage of building the cars. And
that's cool.
He in all the videos, he's like, there's a lot of misinformation online. I'm here to set the record straight because I literally handpicked these cars back in 2002.
You can't get more accurate than...
Yeah, he's literally the guy.
The guy.
And so, we always shout him out. Great work on the film. So let's get into the cars real quick.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about the film after that. So this is just what I am... InternetMovieCarDatabase.org listed as the most important cars, which I don't agree with this listing.
Oh, interesting.
But number one was the 1969 Chevy Camaro, the Yanko, the blue one that Paul Walker drove. The blue Camaro that gets jumped into the boat. They listed that as the most important car of the movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, totally. Oh yeah, go ahead.
But
that's
pretty sweet car. I like the I like the old Camaro. And
it is
paired with it the 1970 Dodge Challenger. What?
Yeah,
what
it is. But I mean, those are great old muscle cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of other cars that were whipped around in this movie. So
tons of them.
Yeah.
Honestly,
tons.
Tons. When I think of Too Fast, Too Furious, I think of the Skyline. I think the Skyline is actually the hero car, which is just in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even in for the majority of it.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is, of course, the 2002 Mitsubishi Evo 7.
Yes.
The green Evo, which actually, the Evo 7 was actually never sold here.
No?
No.
Okay.
So those cars were actually imported directly from Mitsubishi in Japan. They got 4 cars for the movie.
Yeah.
They were actually originally going to be sent to a rally team in Europe.
Oh, wow.
But they were sent, something came up with the rally team, so Mitsubishi just diverted the cars to Miami for the movie.
I don't know why you say it that way, but anyway.
I just like saying Miami like that.
So here's a rally car that's a convertible.
Oh no! That's not the Lancer. That's not the Evo. The Evo was the green one.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So they were actually converted
okay.
to rear-wheel drive for the stunts. Those are all-wheel drive cars. I believe they have the 4G63 engine, which is a very popular Mitsubishi engine, very stout, and you could throw 800 horsepower at a 4G63 and it just takes it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, I thought those were cool. I really like the Evo. I've driven an Evo 8, which came in 2005. That's the one we actually did get here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same car, honestly.
Style-wise, I'm like, but
they're fun to drive.
Are they? Okay. See,
well,
that's the thing.
Well, here's the thing: is that those cars are so easily modified. I drove one with 650 horsepower.
Jeez.
And the funny thing
cow.
about the 4G63 is it's a 2-something liter engine.
Yeah.
But the turbo was so big on it that I was driving it through the neighborhoods, and the owner was like, "Oh, it's 600 horsepower." And I'm driving through the neighborhoods. I'm like, "This thing feels like my G6." I was like, "This thing feels."
Well, that was about 600 horsepower.
Well, no, like I wasn't even spooling the turbo here.
Oh,
so then I got onto a back road.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most insane videos I've done because I floor it and it's like, like it just rips once it gets above, I think it was like 5,000 RPM. The turbo spools and it just, like, it's insane.
Wow.
Like, I started like shaking and like freaking out. It was so insane because driving it around, it's like this slow,
right?
Whoa, whatever 4-cylinder economy car, and then once the turbo spools, it's insane.
Wow,
it's a very steep climb. So I like the Evos a lot.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Next up, the 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse Spider.
Yeah,
so that's what
gotcha.
you're thinking
That's
the
what
purple one driven by Roman.
That was the one that we had.
Yeah, for like 3 days.
Yeah, for about 3 days.
Shout out. We actually we had a silver.
We did.
And that must have been around 2003.
Yeah, it was, I think.
We had one for 3 days.
It was maybe a little earlier than that because we
got the truck in 02.
So it was 02.
It must have been like an 01 or 02 Spider.
Yeah, maybe, right. Yeah, it was probably an 02. I think it was an 02. And I remember the first time I saw it in the lot. We were looking at other cars, and I was like, "What is that one?"
You really liked that Eclipse.
I really liked it, but then I'm glad we didn't get it. I'm glad we didn't. Try it. I mean, at the time, for us, it just wasn't the right car. It wasn't the right thing for us.
Yeah, and I always go back to it. I think having a pickup truck as my first car really not shaped who I am. It kind of did, though, honestly. Like, the amount of times like I put my friends in the bed of the truck and we went out. Like, you can't do that with an Eclipse.
Well, there was, and it was also a beater truck. I mean, we had a lot of rust and it was beat up and you didn't worry about it. And you could do fun stuff, have your friends in it. We pulled the bushes out of the front of the house with it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we
towed the RX-7 with it.
Yes,
we did everything with that
truck. You
truck.
hauled a motorcycle, didn't you?
Sager's motorcycle.
Yeah,
I towed it, or we put it in the bed a couple of times.
Yeah, because we had the winch in the back, which you could pull things up, and that's how we pulled some of the...
So I'm glad we didn't keep the Eclipse. I've only driven one of those Eclipses ever. Yeah. And it was a V6 coupe, so it was a hard top.
Okay.
But it had a big turbo on it. And again, similar to the Evo, nothing, everything.
Yeah.
Driving it. Really interesting.
When I drove it, it was just fun to drive. It was fun to have a convertible. It was brand new. It was really cool. And, I mean, it would be great to drive one again. I don't know. That's like the other day I drove a convertible and I wasn't like, it was nice, but it wasn't terribly exciting to me. But
you didn't think that car was okay? Well, you drove that car. It wasn't performing at its peak.
Correct.
It was a BMW 240i convertible.
Yeah,
and that car at its peak is a ton of fun.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I just don't drive cars like you do.
Yeah,
you've driven so many cars that you can feel the nuance between cars. You can feel how they drive.
Yeah.
I get in the car and go, dope, 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 I'm driving a car.
Well, it's funny because, like, yes, I'm literally the latest review I did, which was a Z3M, which is a fantastic car, but that's review 537 cars.
Okay, wow.
And there's a couple dual reviews in there where I drove 3 cars in one video, so it's more than 3.
Okay.
Probably closer to 550 cars.
That's a ton of cars.
It's a lot of cars.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's weird because like they're all so different, but then sometimes I'm all, like they're all kind of the same. I mean, like they're all four wheels and an engine. Like,
so here's the thing: is I was driving in the BMW, and this is like a really nice BMW. Don't get me wrong; it's really nice.
It's a 2016 BMW 240i. It has the B58 straight six in it, which is just a fantastic engine. It's in the new Supra, 3-liter.
But I was driving it, and I thought, well. You know, I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed that $800 Mercury Capri that I was going to buy.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoyed it just as much.
I kind of wish you did buy that.
I know. I thinking back. Although it's funny, I saw pictures. I actually had there was a Mercury Capri for sale, and I took it to some mechanics, just like you're supposed to do. I looked.
I forgot you did this.
Yes,
yeah, and
I
they
took
were
it to
like
some and actually a company called Votels.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out, definitely. They helped me out. So I brought, and they put it up on the lift, and they showed me underneath the car, there was like huge gaping holes, rust and everything. It was going to fall apart, although it was only $800. That's the reason why it was $800. But there was huge gaping holes, and I thought, I just can't do this safety-wise, blah, blah, blah. Plus, I'd have to do the brakes and all that.
Yeah.
And so I ended up not getting it, but I kind of do regret it. I wish that I would have just had it for a little while and thrown some money into the brakes, and then that was it. You know, just did nothing else.
As a like what I did with my Miata.
Yeah,
just keep it for 90 days and get rid of it.
Just a quick car, but yeah.
But you know what else we took to Votels to get inspected?
What's that?
A Mitsubishi Lancer.
Did we?
So that's the non-performance version of that green car in the movie.
Oh.
So we were looking at I want to say 2005 Mitsubishi Lancer front-wheel drive manual. It was that black one, remember? And it was for sale from. This wasn't a fever dream. How do you not remember this?
Was I not there?
No, you were there.
Okay,
we picked up this car. It was from. I want to say like a Ford dealer.
Where I don't remember this.
This was right after I got back from my Slovakia trip.
Okay.
And my RX-7 was at Votels. Because it had a blown 12A and they thought it was just the carburetor.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting there and we took this black Lancer because this was going to be my daily driver instead of the G6.
Okay.
So that's the non-performance version of the green car from this movie.
Okay. Getting back to the movie.
Yeah, trying to get back to the movie.
Totally.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I do and I don't wish that we picked up that Lancer. Well, we brought it to him, and the radiator support was held together by like gum.
Yeah,
like something was really messed up with the radiator support.
Yep.
So of course always take your car to a mechanic.
Just what I was going to say. If you can do it, if you can allow the people to, or ask the people to allow you to say, look, honestly, I'm going to take it to a mechanic.
Right.
It gives you a lot of room to negotiate as well, and it also gives you a true idea of the condition of the car.
Do you remember? Well, apparently you don't remember this day.
I don't remember anything at all.
I remember I was obsessed with the song "White Panda."
White Panda,
or was it? No, it's just Panda by some rapper. I was like obsessed with the song and I really wanted this Lancer. Blah blah. You remember we took it back to the dealer and we're like, hey, we had our guy check it out. The radiator support looks like it's gonna fall out, and the guy was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, no worries." He didn't even try to sell it. He didn't try to lower it. He was just like, "Yeah, for sure," and then walked back inside.
It was a dealership though.
It was a dealership, and I remember they also had a E30 M3 there. Do you remember this?
I really don't. That's
you just
so
blank
weird.
out this whole thing.
I did.
It was 2016.
Okay.
I just got back from Slovakia because I remember I was in Bratislava and I found this guy was making custom car keychains, and I bought a Mazda one for my RX-7.
Okay.
And I bought a Mitsubishi one because I thought I was going to buy this Lancer when I got back.
No, last 5 years have been a complete
That's
blackout.
fair.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the cars of the movie.
Yep.
1999 Nissan Skyline GTR. We pretty much already talked about that.
Yep. That's cool.
I've driven an R32 Skyline, so like the previous generation of this car.
Okay.
Because that was the first year of that, I believe, was 91. So those have been in the States for a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Super fun cars, right-hand drive only.
Yeah.
They all have straight six turbos in them. Well, you can actually find them with straight six naturally aspirated engines, but the GTRs all had straight six turbos. Whether that was like an RB26, RB25, things like that. Real good engines. The RB engines are some of my favorite engines ever.
Really?
Yeah. The R32 that I drove had a RB20, so it's a 2-liter straight 6. So it's a smaller displacement than our Mazdas, but it's a straight 6, so tiny cylinders.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
Actually Mazda made a 1.8-liter V6 one time, which is like little teacups for cylinders.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Skyline Gtr, the R34 is just going to go down in history as not only probably the most expensive Japanese car, besides like a Toyota 2000 GT, something of that sort. It's going to go down big. It already has. And then a couple other cars. I know we keep dragging here. 2001 Honda S2000. The pink one, Suki's car.
Oh, yeah, Suki.
Was it in the Peterson Auto Museum when we went? I think it was.
I think it was. I think I actually probably have pictures of it. I think because it's a cool car. I've driven an S2000.
Oh, so have I. They're very fun.
Very fast, very fun. A lot of history behind those cars about how they were made and everything, or why they were made.
Right.
But
they're based off of like the S800s, S600s that Honda made in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Little roadsters, and they actually still make the S600 in Japan.
Oh, do
It's
they?
a roadster about the size of this ottoman here in Miami. This ottoman that's in front of us. We bring this ottoman to every location we shoot at. This leather ottoman from like, I don't know, Bob's Discount Furniture or wherever we got this.
Yeah.
But the S2000s are great. It was actually supercharged for the movie.
Very,
Suki's
very cool
pink
cars.
car.
I like those cars.
And a lot
tiny
of
though, very small.
Tiny. And the interior was actually made mostly out of bath mats.
What?
Yeah. So Doug Demiro, he's the biggest YouTube car reviewer there is. Doug Demiro.
Yeah.
Real quirky guy. He's like just basically a nerd that has made it, basically.
Okay.
And he actually got in with the Peterson Auto Museum and reviewed Suki's S2000 from the movie.
Wow.
And it's funny because he talks about for the movie, like, you know, all that fluffy stuff on the steering wheel and stuff. That was all bath mats.
Really?
That was all like furniture stuff. That it looked great in the movie. It looked super plush. But now, not only, 20 plus years later, but that stuff, like, it's all super cheap stuff, and it's all like matted now, and it's like gross. It's like a bath mat. It aged like a bath mat because
Craig,
it was.
Contact us, Craig Lieberman.
Lieberman, yeah.
Contact us and let us know what happened.
CradleReviews@gmail.com. Shoot me an email.
Yeah, let us know what happened, Craig.
Yeah, so it's super interesting. Go watch Doug Demiro's video about that as well.
It's a good idea.
A couple more cars. 1994 Mazda RX-7. In the first racing scene, which was actually both the Mazda RX-7 and the next car, which is the 1993 Toyota Supra, were repainted cars from the first movie.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, so in order to save money, because filming for Too Fast, Too Furious happened as the original Fast and Furious was in the box offices.
Really?
So the original Fast and Furious opened up pretty big. It was a pretty big success.
Yeah.
And what? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I guess I should do some research on these movies.
No, I mean, it's fine. I kind of like the
movies.
dynamic of you not knowing anything.
Yeah, it's fine.
Gives me power. But so Fast and Furious, the original Fast and Furious was a huge hit.
Okay.
And like that week, they were like, all right, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Really?
Let's write it, which actually they wrote it originally for...
In a weekend?
Well, honestly, kind of, because it originally starred Dominic Toretto, but then Vin Diesel was filming XXX at the same time.
Gotcha.
So this is the only Fast and Furious movie that does not have Dominic Toretto in it.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Tokyo Drift, he's in it in the end credit scene
he is.
as a cameo. Somehow he imported a Dodge Charger to Tokyo.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Don't know how that happened, but
he's dumb. He's
he finds
a
way.
He's Toretto.
Hey. What is he, Italian now?
No, he's not Italian.
Gabagool. But yeah, so the 94 RX-7 and the 93 Supra were just repainted cars from the first movie. In order to save money. And we'll talk about the Supra actually a little bit later with the trivia. Yeah. Just because there's some interesting tricks that they did for the camera with that car. Are you picturing that car? It's the brown one. It's the brown Toyota Supra. I forget. It's driven by some B character or whatever.
Okay.
It's a brown Toyota Supra. And then the RX-7 is still red, but it has orange like hexagon graphics on the side instead of the.
Oh right, yeah, I remember that actually.
So those were just repainted cars from the first movie, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And the last car I wanted to mention, not a main character at all, but the 1998 Dodge Durango. Because this scene I think about, or at least when I was a kid, I thought about all the time, where they put the rock on the accelerator and they put it in drive and it drives into the cops. I used to think about that all the time as a kid. I thought that was like, because I had never thought of doing that with a car. Like, that was just so absurd and crazy to me.
Oh, to put the rock
putting
on
it
the
in drive and putting the rock on the accelerator. And then I was like, whoa, it's driving without a person in it.
Gotcha.
That was just such a foreign concept to me as a kid. That I almost still think about that sometimes. But I just want to shout that out. But yeah, let's talk about any more thoughts with the movie, and then we have a bunch of trivia to get through here.
Okay. All right. So ideas about the movie. Well, it was one of those movies I actually made, which I like to do when I'm watching these, is I make a big a bunch of popcorn. Yeah. And it was a fun popcorn munching movie to really just kind of zone out. It was, the typical. I mean, again, I didn't believe the Brian character nearly as much as I believe the Roman character.
That's interesting. I haven't really heard that. That's a hot take for sure.
Well, it's probably different. But I just thought he was more real than Brian. Okay. I think Roman was a more real character than Brian was. Yeah. And it was like, again, they played that whole thing with Paul Walker. It was, I guess, it was like he walked back into the whole police thing way too nicely. Like it was like, oh yeah, okay, come on back into our club, and just
also
start doing
I feel
stuff.
like he doesn't take it as seriously, the whole police thing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like I feel like most of the stuff he does, where he just like picks up cars and stuff, I'm like, you know how many budgetary meetings it would take in order to the car modification that you're doing here? Like, I don't know. I see your point. Was my point.
Well, and then of course too, I mean, it is pretty far-fetched too when they need a couple more cars, and so they go out and they race for pink slips.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you would have lost,
it's a real gamble. Like, they're stuck at square one again.
Right.
Imagine they pull up in like a Geo Metro. Like, they're like, we lost the car, so we had to buy this one. This is a Saturn SL2 that we put pinstripes on.
Pinstripes will add a couple horsepower to it.
Yeah. Sorry, all I could get with this 81 Corolla with a 1.8 in it. It won't even do over 70, and it's still carbureted. I mean, like, that's a fair point. If they would, but it added some excitement.
Of course it did.
And also it added these muscle cars, something that they weren't used to.
Exactly. So one of the big things in movie making is it has to be like, the stakes have to be huge. You have to, life and death. It has to be, the basic. It's the basic things in life. So it's got to be life or death, or you're struggling to save a loved one, or to rescue a loved one, or it has to be something what they call primal. So things like it has to be about death, or food, or lust, or money, or whatever. So the primal things, and so that one, obviously they want to make that interesting. So the stakes are really high, which of course you have to do in a movie. You just have to.
Going off of that, if you want a very interesting case study on what happens when you have to keep raising the stakes with each movie, you get the Fast and Furious franchise, where the first three movies, French fries, the Fast and Furious French fries. It's actually a spin-off.
That would be a great thing to have, the Fast and Furious French fries. That'd be awesome.
You bite into them and they just say family. No, the first three movies, very manageable.
Yeah, I would say.
Fourth movie, a little far-fetched. Fifth movie,
I have to see the fourth.
Far-fetched.
Yeah.
Sixth movie.
Yeah.
Farthest fetch. Seventh movie. Somehow farther fetched. Like, it's literally just this building effect, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess these guys can't just go back to street racing because they became international spies for a movie.
Yeah.
And then they were pulling this heist in Rio de Janeiro, actually filmed in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And like,
I jumped through a bunch of movies, and I've only seen bits and pieces. So I'm actually curious when I go back and we watch all of them.
Yeah.
to see that for myself and go.
When we do watch Tokyo Drift next,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that is the last respected Fast and Furious.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, like Fast. I mean, well, okay. So the fourth one is it's just Fast and Furious, not the in it. Because the first one is the Fast and Furious, but the fourth one is just Fast and Furious. Then there's Fast 5. Fast 5 is one of my personal favorites, but
is it really?
Yeah, I like it. I've watched that one probably the most. Besides this one, Too Fast, Too Furious, hands down my favorite. As I've grown up, Tokyo Drift has moved up the ranks quite a bit.
Okay.
But Fast 5 will always have a nice place.
Yeah, it just does seem like later on in the movie, it's like, here's a magic car that can fly.
I
and,
mean, well, like in one of the ones, I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah.
They jump a supercar from one skyscraper to the next.
Oh yeah, I
they jump
I
a car,
that,
or like in the 8th one, there's a runway that's like somehow like there's a seat.
Yes,
the
impossibly
plane takes
long.
like 30 minutes to get down the runway.
Impossibly long.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I would say after the third one they kind of jumped the shark.
Okay.
But going off of what you were saying is the stakes have to be high.
They do.
What happens when the stakes have to be higher.
Yeah.
And higher and higher.
So if you're gonna have a giant franchise, make the stakes super low in the first movie.
The first movie they should have been like not even stealing DVD players. They should have been stealing like Chia Pets or something. Yeah.
Toasters or something.
Chia. Or like something. Tamagotchis. I don't know what was big in 2001. But
but you're right. In every movie having to top that. That's what happened a lot of times too. Think about the James Bond movies. So how many times can you top some crazy stunt? Well, and then they got to Moonraker, where literally James Bond is in outer space. So it became
I never really thought about that.
Yeah,
that was like
crazy.
what I think CSI Miami went to space one time, or there was some.
Did they really?
There was some crime show where it was a murder in space. And
All right,
like, there was 8 guys there.
Murder in space.
One of them, one of them's dead.
Yeah. Okay,
you got 7 suspects. I mean, like just question, like no one saw anything. Come on.
Wait a minute, were they on a satellite?
I think so. It was like a murder on the International Space Station. It's like there's only a handful of guys up here.
And there's like 3 feet of distance between everyone.
I mean, like you guys all sleep like bungee corded together. Like you didn't notice Ralph was missing?
How did you not notice that? All right, anyway.
But getting back to actually Too Fast, Too Furious, I just think it's lighthearted enough. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
The cars are definitely super cool in it.
Yeah.
There is a Dodge Viper, a yellow Dodge Viper in the movie. That was actually this movie got the first 4 Vipers made of that generation.
Really?
For the filming of this movie, which was cool.
That is cool. That is very cool.
Definitely hijinks, highs. I mean, like Miami. Just makes the scene cool. There's drug money. There's all this stuff. There's a lot of what?
Yeah. I was gonna say. So, did you recognize the crooked cop? I never thought about it before, but he is exactly the same character actor who plays the bad crooked cop in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight. No, it's not The Dark Knight. It's Batman Begins or something like that. It was the one. It was the first one.
Oh,
so he's the one who says, "What, your kids don't like falafel?" And he's walking down the alley, and then he gets pulled up. By Batman. He's the bad guy, the bad cop. Now he's the bad cop in Miami. What the heck's going on with this guy? Well,
he was the bad cop in Miami before Batman. Because this was 2003.
Okay.
Batman Begins was what, 06?
Was it?
Because Dark Knight was 08.
Yeah, what is the first one? It's like Dark Knight Begins or
It's Batman Begins. Okay. Dark Knight Rises.
So Batman Begins is the one he's in.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably right. That they maybe they saw him in that and went, okay, that's the guy. That's a crappy.
Yeah, I mean, talk about being typecast.
No kidding. Exactly the same.
Maybe that means that they're in the same worlds. Maybe he's not typecast. Maybe he's playing the same character.
Right, and he just got moved out. Or no, he was in Miami.
Yeah.
And got moved up to Gotham City.
Yeah,
which
wherever
would be New
that
York.
is.
That's New York.
Well, no, but they used 3 different cities to film it, though.
Yeah, I know. There's Chicago, which is awesome.
Chicago was the second one, most famous one.
Yeah,
Shout
which
out.
is awesome.
Shout out Chicago.
Shout out Chicago.
Not that we're anywhere near it. We're in Miami.
No, we're in Miami, so.
I don't know what
Yeah,
sound
it's
effect to do for
very-
Miami.
I
I was gonna do just birds again. That's the only one I
that's
think I could.
I think that or
Yeah.
or speedboats or jet skis. What
Or
are
just
the jet
very
skis
loud
sound like?
Cuban music. Just
Dun,
clubs.
Is that
Cuban music?
Of course it is.
I'm just
Well,
thinking.
what else would that be?
Mr. What? Mr. 305. Got it.
What the heck was that?
That's Pitbull.
Pitbull.
Mr. 305. Mr. Worldwide.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Pitbull. He's from
I
Miami.
don't know.
Mr. 305. That's the area code for Miami.
I don't know of this
Oh, come
Pitbull
on.
man. No,
Are you serious?
I don't know. I mean I
Oh,
know. of him.
man.
I know Pitbull, but I don't think I've ever heard a song of his ever.
No, you probably have. Or actually, you know what? You probably haven't. I don't know. I don't think that.
What is
I don't
this?
think they play it on those transistor radios you listen to.
What is this Mr. Pitbull? You
Mr.
speak of?
Pitbull, sir. Mr. Pitbull, sir.
So,
But yeah.
so one of the so that was a fun thing that he was actually the bad cop in this movie and the bad cop
Yeah.
in Batman. He gets like tortured in
Yeah.
both movies.
Yeah, not the best.
No, not the best. So that's a fun thing. Yeah, it was fun also that the woman who also plays the wife in The Other Guys, the movie The Other Guys.
Oh, Eva Mendes.
Eva Mendes.
Yeah,
so
the
she's in this
heartthrob
one.
of the 2000s.
Yeah, exactly.
personally.
So right, so you've got her in there. That's fun,
Yeah.
whatever. And then I love the fact that Roman's character always steals stuff. It's always like a klepto.
the cigar cutter.
Cigar cutter.
Yeah.
It's a klepto and everything,
Yeah.
taking all that stuff.
Which
is
I thought it was
funny.
a fun twist how he had these like tryouts, right? And he
Yeah.
had to go get get the thing
right.
from the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and then they give it back and it's just like it's a cigar,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's
Yeah.
a cigar or cigar cut. Oh, it's a cigar.
It's a cigar
a
and then he
cigar.
cuts yeah. I thought that was fun. I thought that
Yeah, it
was
is
like a kind
fun.
of twist of like,
It
it's
is
this
fun.
high stakes event
Yeah.
and it's just for a cigar.
Yeah.
I like the rat scene is sort of
Yeah.
traumatized
The torture.
me as a kid.
Yeah.
And I always remember
Pretty awful.
Carter saying, "You don't have to worry when he's making noise. It's when he goes quiet he starts digging."
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And then the rat starts digging into the
Yeah.
guy.
And it's a pretty nasty, but
yeah,
it
it's
would've-
a rough scene.
Yeah.
For sure.
it would have been funny if you just heard from the can. Well, what do you know? Hey,
Hey,
oh boy, oh boy. Oh,
It's not when the
it's
mouse
dark
is
in-
loud. It's when the mouse goes silent.
Hey, it's kind of hot in here.
I don't think there's a
No, I don't think
Disney
it-
World ride
No, there's not.
dedicated to
Fast and Furious.
they just put you in a car and then they just heat up the car to 160 degrees.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
You
They-
just hear muffled. He's a
Right.
rat.
He's a rat. Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
So I mean, so many like
That was
good
fun, it was
scenes.
good,
I mean,
yeah.
how can we not talk about Ejectocito?
Ejectocito was a great fun thing.
Such a good moment.
Yeah.
That gets quoted. I mean,
Yeah.
in an insane amount.
But
The boat jump scene was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was far out there, of course.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you thought, okay, if everything was aligned just right, maybe that could happen. Kind of like, okay, in Smoking the Bandits, maybe if
Yeah.
everything was lined up and all the stars were aligned and you actually had a ramp on a
Yeah,
bridge.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. If you maybe. But for the most part that was but it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also was kind of fun in the end that they didn't really they didn't kill the bad guy and he's just kind of sitting there
Yeah.
and he's going to the guy's going to get out of jail.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay,
Which I kind of wish that a later Fast and Furious would actually revisit that.
yeah.
Because
that would
spoiler
be-
alert, Carter isn't in any of the other movies. The
No?
bad guy. No, he never comes back.
Oh,
Which
okay.
they've literally brought characters back from the dead multiple times
Have they?
in the franchise. It gets real weird. It was
Oh.
like you were dead for 3 movies, and they're like, I'm back. It's literally like they've given up on reality.
Okay.
But I mean, in the newest one, Idris Elba is like a superhuman. Like he's literally like
What?
they like infuse his spine with like a. I haven't even seen it, but from the commercials, they like are trying to develop a superhuman soldier, and it's Idris Elba, and then he's the bad guy.
Wait, what characters he? Who?
No, this is like the 9th movie. This is like
okay.
no, this is the spin-off movie, Shaw and Hobbs.
What?
Hobbs and Shaw. They made a spin-off movie. It was like from the people that brought you Fast and Furious.
Calvin and Hobbs?
Yeah, it's
What?
a Calvin and Hobbs. It's just a Calvin and Hobbs cartoon starring The Rock and Jason Statham. Yeah, it gets. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Fine.
It's Calvin just peeing on both of them. Those cartoons.
Yeah.
Super sad history behind those cartoons, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, the guy who invented Calvin and Hobbs never copyrighted it.
Oh.
And so those stickers of Calvin peeing on the Green Bay Packers logo or the Chevy logo or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those were never like commissioned or anything. People just made them.
Okay.
And there was this the author was in an interview and he was quoted as saying he saw those stickers and just said, "Oh, what have they done to you, my boy?" And it was like this really sad moment of like this guy's like creation in these cartoons.
Yeah.
He didn't like the way it was going because he didn't have the money to copyright it at the time.
Wow.
Calvin and Hobbes blew up way later. So.
Wow. Well, that is really sad. On that sad note,
I know.
Okay. So
yeah.
Okay. So one of my very favorite parts of the movie, I have to say.
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, that's to get us out of the sad moment.
All right, fine, good.
Okay, go on.
All right, so probably my favorite part of the whole movie, and it's just a very, very fun scene, is when they go into the garages.
Oh,
and then,
hands down. One of the best scenes in any movie ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was so
remember
fun. That was
watching-
a fun scene.
Yeah, I remember watching that scene upstairs in the living room.
Yeah.
If we were back home, wink, Miami.
Yeah, now, yeah.
Yeah, if we were back home upstairs, I remember watching that scene, and that was the exact moment I felt 2 new teeth coming through my gums.
Really?
Because I was like, what? That movie came out in 2003, so I was
you were like 23?
I'm 23 right now. Well, not then.
Right.
Yeah, I was like 6
or
or 7.
Yeah.
And I remember like I felt new teeth coming through my gums. Like that's how young I was.
Wow.
And I just couldn't stop like, with your tongue like feeling the tooth breaking the skin. One of the best scenes, and then it gives me goosebumps every time when you hear the yelling, the ooh, before they open up the garages, and they let out those Rams with the push bars on them.
So,
oh, man.
For people that might have forgotten or people that haven't seen the movie, again, spoiler alert, which should totally
blew past that.
We should totally begin with it. We spoil every movie we talk about. But, so there's a part in the movie where they're being chased by the police. And they're doing a drug run, basically, but it's supposedly they're undercover.
Right.
And they're trying to get away from the police because if they get caught by the police, then they can't do the drug run, which means that they can't, penalize the bad guy, whatever.
Yeah,
they can't capture the bad guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, they break off and they go into I don't know what it is. It's like
it's a big industrial complex.
Yeah.
It's a building with like, I don't know, 10 garage doors lined up.
At least 10 garage doors.
Which I have some trivia about that building. But
so 10 garage doors, they go flying into the garage doors, and then the cops are like, yeah, we got them. They got no place to go.
Yeah, we got them surrounded. They close the garage doors behind the 2 cars.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear people, was it? Yeah. They're like...
I don't know who's doing that, but
I don't know either.
It's just like this like cool like battle cry essentially. Yeah. They lift the doors and
all
these
the doors go up at the
3rd
same
gen
time.
Dodge Rams come out with push bars on the front, slam into the cop cars, disabling them all, and then this rush of like, I don't know, 100 cars.
It seems like they just keep coming and coming and coming. It's just like hundreds of cars.
Which it's so funny. If you watch the movie, go back and like pause it a couple times. There's a modified PT Cruiser in the background.
Really?
There's some Volkswagen Bugs, like newer Bugs.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of we're watching the movie. There's a bunch of MR2 Spiders.
Yeah. You know what else is in there?
What?
The Wienermobile. The actual hot dog Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. You have to pause it, though.
Yeah.
It's really in there for just a couple frames.
I would love it if they really did that.
That would be hilarious.
Or like just like a taco truck. Like, hey.
It's like
it's like holding up traffic, and everyone's like,
what the heck's going on with that?
Hands down one of the coolest scenes.
It is
when
it's
you
fun.
don't see it coming.
Right.
It's such a fun surprise.
Yes.
Which
absolutely.
now you are not going to be surprised.
Right.
But
even so, I still love watching that because the mayhem with the cars coming out.
Oh, yeah, and the cop cars getting smashed. And
you just feel like, that was a cool thing to do because they totally, kind of a Smokey and the Bandit move where they use tons of cars to really fend off the police and confuse them and all that. And then there's the double twist.
Right.
Where they track the car that they were in.
Eclipse and the Evo.
Yes. And they track that, and it wasn't our...
Yeah, they switched drivers when they were inside the warehouse.
Which was another brilliant move. That was like a double twist to that, which I thought was just a super fun thing to do, and I thought that was great. And then it all makes sense of why they were working on those muscle cars.
Yeah.
Because they knew they were going to make the switch, and they knew, they were also going to have... they were also going to need to have the ejecto-seatos.
Yeah.
I thought it was great too. I actually did think it was great that Brian's seat didn't work.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was, and I'm glad they did it because you think and you go, yeah, that's probably what would happen. It wouldn't totally work.
Yeah, everything working perfectly is a little too
I don't
suspect.
like that. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like everything working perfectly. I like when there's a challenge because something, especially anything mechanical or technology-based, it always messes up.
Always.
And so that added a little bit of realism in that. And then it was funny, too, how much they had to actually beat up that guy because he was a big guy in their car. They had to keep kicking him and hitting him because he was just too big and he wasn't going down. So, pretty cool that they did that. There is that one scene where if you... I wish we could show people, but there's a one scene at the very end where Roman and Brian are walking next to each other, and they both stole money.
You pointed this out.
And I did point it out, where literally Brian, the character Brian, is looking off, and it's like, what are you looking at? Where are you? He's like looking off to the side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I go, wow, that's weird that you did that. That you're
when you pointed that out, they are just kind of awkwardly staring off into the middle of nowhere.
They are, yeah. Because
I don't know what they're looking at because they're not facing the water where the car was on the boat or like anything.
They're not facing the water. They're not facing the cops because they just left that scene and they didn't want anyone to see them. So obviously they're somewhere where nobody is. They're somewhere where no one is, and they're looking at something or they're looking off, and it's just a bizarre, freaky thing that it just kind of bugs me every time I watch it. But, again, it's fun where they, the bad guys are supposed to be at the jet. They're supposed to be waiting for the jet. And then, they open the door and it's not the bad guy.
Yeah, that was a fun twist.
Yeah, it was a fun twist. And the fact that they weren't going to go to the airport or whatever because, again, the bad guy finds, I can't remember the bad guy's name. What's his name?
I literally said it earlier.
Carter. Carter, okay.
Carter, yeah.
So Carter realizes that...
Eva Mendez's character is a spy.
Yes, whatever.
Not spy, but she's like telling people about because he says in the movie he's like, well, I only told one person about the air. He was like, he says like, do you know anything about the agents that raided my plane? And Paul Walker was like, no, and he's like, oh, that's funny. I only told one person about the airstrip.
Yeah,
and it was Eva Mendez, and she goes like, ugh.
Dope.
I think that's actually a direct quote from Eva Mendez. Dope.
If you listen quietly, for one frame, you're dope.
Yeah.
So that was fun. They pulled that switch, and then it's like, okay, and it's kind of fun because when you first see the movie, you're like, how is this going to end? Because the bad guy's going to get away with this because it's curtains for her. So that was fun. It was fun again to see other people, the people like, is it Suki or Susie?
Suki?
Suki.
Yeah.
And who's the rapper?
Oh, Ludacris.
Ludacris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the Ludacris paradox. because Ludacris is in this movie.
Right.
But Ludacris's song was used in the first movie.
Right.
So are there two Ludacrises? Or is Tej in the movie secretly Ludacris? Or are they different people? Because technically in the universe, there's a Ludacris song.
Well, if there's two Ludacrises, I think that's a Ludacris. Is
that the plural of it?
I don't know. No, it's a good point. Is how does that, again, when these universes? Well, I guess there's Batman, so now we figured out that crossover.
Yeah.
If there's Batman existing at the same time as this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think those characters are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, those added
especially when he gets out of the Evo after being chased by the cops, and that's when they reveal that it's not actually them.
Right.
Because you see Ludacris's foot come out.
Right.
Like that looks like Brian.
Kind of.
But then Suki's
Suki
high leather boot comes out, and that's obviously not Roman.
Yeah, and that's when you go, oh, and then which is actually from a movie making standpoint, that's really the fun part, is doing a slow reveal.
A really cool misdirection.
Yes, misdirection and a slow reveal.
Yeah.
So you've got something, you make it look like it's what you think, what the audience thinks. So you make them think that everything's fine. It's the characters they expect, and then all of a sudden there's a shot and it's not them, and that's the whole fun. Building something like that is just a whole fun scene.
Right.
And it is fun. I think even after you watch it once, you go back and you watch it, you know what's going to happen, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Because to see to see the reactions of the other people.
And when one of my favorite lines is when Ludacris gets out of the car and he has his hands up and he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I know my tags are out of date, but damn."
You're right, exactly.
That's a great line.
That is a great line.
Which a lot of this movie was improv.
Was it?
A lot of the lines from the cat, were improv.
I mean, again, it's a very loose.
It's a loose movie. But if you want to get onto some trivia, I have quite a bit here.
All right,
today.
So let's go. Let's
again,
do it.
as always, brought to you by, pulled from, but in no way sponsored by IMDb.
Right.
So the first one here was while filming the movie on one side of Cape Florida State Park, which is where they filmed the car jumping onto the boat.
Yeah.
On the other side of the park, Bad Boys 2 was being filmed at the same time.
Wow.
And I wish in a small world that you could see in the background the car going onto the boat or something like that.
That would have been awesome. They should have done something where there's a scene in both movies.
I don't know if they were conflicting studios or not. But
still.
I mean, think of living in Cape Florida and having two movies being filmed.
Yeah.
And they're both insanely successful movies.
Right.
Bad Boys 2 was insanely successful. I mean, that's like Bad Boys, that's what it's from.
But I mean, bigger than Bad Boys 1, the first Bad Boys movie?
I think so.
All right. Okay.
To the point it was quoted in Hot Fuzz. You remember where they're watching movies and he's like, Bad Boys 1 or Bad Boys 2?
Right.
And he goes, Bad Boys 2? And he's like, no, which one do you want to watch first?
Gotcha.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he said it is. It's what he says. Yeah, exactly. So.
But another one, I thought this was really interesting. So much neon lighting was used in the cars that they had a technical specialist whose expertise was in shooting neon on film and was kept on set at all times.
Wow. So
the amount of cars with neon lights under them, there was a guy who I guess knew how to film it. I don't know why you couldn't just tell the DP hey, just lower your exposure a little, or whatever it may be. You know?
But
there was there was a guy that was the neon lighting guy.
Wow, I had no idea, but there was a ton of neon.
Mm-hmm.
It was really obvious when they were rolling in. There was neon everywhere. So
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, very.
So this one I touched on earlier, but it says the first car you can see Paul Walker drive in the movie was in fact not his own racing car in real life, because Paul Walker did actually have an R34. He had a Skyline. He had one of the few legal ones.
Wow.
But instead, it belonged to the technical advisor Craig Lieberman and was repainted for the movie. So shout out Craig Lieberman.
I don't know. Yeah.
It is true that Walker had a love for street racing, but did not personally handpick all of the racing vehicles in the movie as often described. The vehicles were picked by Universal, and then some final decisions were made by Lieberman and other advisors. The Mitsubishi vehicles used promptly in the film were originally going to be Dodge Neon SRT 4s before Lieberman stepped in.
Dodge Neon SRT4s?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So actually, SRT4s actually make a lot of power.
All right.
They're manual. I drove one 2 years ago.
Not so exciting though.
They're not nearly as exciting. It's literally an economy car with a hopped up engine. It's a 2.4 liter turbo. But I drove one, and in my review, they're fun to drive because of the turbo and it's manual, and they're easy to build big power out of. You can get 600 horsepower out of them pretty easily. But they don't escape their economy car roots. Oh. The rear windows on the SRT4, which was like the top trim, the rear windows were manual cranks.
Oh, gotcha.
So
all
right.
I
don't know. And the SRT4 kind of falls, or at least at the time, sort of fell into like a weird category of like tuner American cars, which wasn't really seen. We had like the SVT Focus was an American tuner car. Now we have like the Ford Focus ST, the Focus RS, a handful of other ones, but like it wasn't really a thing. The SRT4 I don't think would have really fit. So good on Lieberman for finally getting Mitsubishi to fork over some cars.
No kidding.
So
very
I
good.
thought that was super interesting. So most of the cars were heavily modified and reinforced with roll cages for the bridge jump. However, the roll cage would have been too obvious in the convertible S2000. So the stunt crew rigged up a remote control version for the jump with a dummy in the driver's seat.
So a full-size car?
Yeah, so full-size remote control car. Because Suki's car was a convertible, you would have been able to see the roll cage for just a split second.
Yeah.
Which is funny because there's other continuity errors.
Yeah.
Like, there's some green screen errors in the very beginning of the film. When he's in the Skyline, like, things don't quite match up. But heaven forbid a roll bar. I mean, I feel like it would have been, well, maybe
there's like an African jungle in the background or something. Or
maybe not for 2002. I feel like nowadays you would just paint out the roll bar.
Oh, you would.
But probably back then.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy how much CGI has become the norm for movies where there's things like people, they'll actually like CGI out an item sitting on a table. It's like, well, okay, you couldn't have just shot around that or just cut that. No, they'll CGI it out, CGI it out, or they'll change something on it. And it's so minor and so minute. And, CGI has gotten so much better that, you could literally take out or change anything in a stunt like that. So,
I thought that was just super interesting.
It is.
They built a remote control, essentially. Yeah. The part where the Corvette crashes into the Mustang on the freeway was not actually planned, yet the stuntman walked away unscathed. Some parts of the ending were not scripted either, so the actors just improvised. So there's when they're doing like the tryouts, the Mustang and Corvette collide. That just wasn't supposed to happen.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so they caught it on film and just threw it into the movie.
Yeah, okay.
But then the Corvette is seen later again without any damage because movies aren't shot in line like that. So it was before it actually crashed.
Right. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
He did that.
When Brian wins the first race, he power slides.
What a surprise!
He power slides towards the crowd.
We said it's going to be spoilers.
Yeah, this is he wins in the first 5 minutes. He wins a race.
All right. Yeah, spoiler.
Paul Walker actually performed this stunt himself, among many in the other films as well as this one, and he was a big fan of street racing and a really good driver. So you see he power slides the Skyline up to the camera.
Yeah.
He did that one take, first try himself.
Wow.
Which was really
cool.
That's
pretty awesome.
Paul Walker was really into cars,
yeah.
Which really shows in a lot of the films and stuff because it actually seems like he cares about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah, I
thought that was interesting.
That reminds me of the thing he talks about when he's first brought in by the FBI and the customs, and they pair him up with someone who doesn't know anything about cars.
Oh yeah.
And they talk about the engine. What's good
the Gallo 12 and Gallo 24.
Yeah.
That's such a quotable scene. That's in the fourth one. We'll get to there someday.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, I mean, Paul Walker was a car enthusiast, and actually he passed away in a car accident.
Yeah.
In a Porsche Carrera GT. Very tragic when that happened. I
yeah.
remember hearing about that. That was insane.
That was just really like surreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it very much like, oh, that did not just happen.
And it had a huge impact on my generation
Sure.
for sure.
Absolutely.
There was like car meets and there was a car cruise downtown Chicago.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
400 or 500 cars filled Lakeshore Drive.
Yep.
I mean, like, it was really,
was
really
a huge
cool.
deal.
To see that sort of, I guess, outcome from that terrible situation.
Yep.
But moving on here with happier quotes or trivia. The scene near the end of the movie where the blue car is driven onto the boat was filmed at Cape Florida State Park in Key Byzantine. Byzantine. That's where Bad Boys 2 is also being filmed on the other side of the Cape.
Right.
A new fishing pier was built by the movie crew to provide the ramp, and a car was prepared with the engine and all fuel and brake lines removed, and the vehicle was steam cleaned so that no oil or gas would pollute the bay.
Ah, okay.
The plan was to film the shot several times, but the first one went so well that the additional takes were canceled.
Wow.
So that was one shot.
That is pretty ballsy to do, because when in a movie, honestly, especially that was, well, I'm sure that was film, you don't know.
Yeah, imagine that not being developed or
right.
like developing poorly.
Exactly.
I mean, it's crazy.
There is possibility of stuff like that. Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I mean, just saying that.
Yeah,
so that was one shot. At least it
crazy.
jumping. Obviously, they just jumped it into the water.
Yeah.
Cut it together with the car landing on the boat. Orange Julius's RX-7 was originally one of the cars that doubled as Dom Toretto's red RX-7 in the first film. It was just repainted.
Right. That's it. Yep.
But that's directly from IMDb.
Yep.
Before the first race, there is a deep focus shot of the three drivers in their cars turning one by one to look at Brian.
Yes.
You remember the shot?
Yes, I do remember.
Very
that,
impressive shot.
Yes, it is.
The slightly unnatural motion of their heads and eye movements of the actors reveals that this shot was actually filmed in reverse. As actually filmed, the action begins with Brian and then moves down the line of actors, finishing with Suki.
Really?
So it was so like where they all turn their heads.
Right.
It was actually shot in reverse so they would know when.
Oh,
because if you're not
I
looking
see.
at each other, you don't know when.
Right.
Which I guess they could have had someone like pointing outside the car or something. But I guess shooting it in reverse made the most sense to them.
I guess, but I agree that you could.
There were other ways to do it, because if you go back and watch the scene, you're like, oh, it does look a little unnatural. Because
I have to go back and look at that
you
now.
just kind of, you don't really notice it, but like the speed in which your neck turns obviously varies throughout the turn of the neck, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like they're like dead stop, and then they like kind of like whip it and jerk. So if you watch it again, it's very interesting to notice that.
In the background, there's a clock going backwards.
Yeah,
and
that'd be hilarious. Yeah,
there's like a guy
uneating a sandwich or something. Yeah,
uneating a sandwich.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
That would have been great. All right.
This is a small one, but the rear wing on Brian O'Connor's Nissan Skyline was made entirely of carbon fiber and cost of production almost $2,000.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why they had to add that. I mean,
Yeah.
like carbon fiber is like a big thing in cars because it's super lightweight, but like super durable.
Craig, give us a call. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. What about that $2,000?
Yeah.
Slapjack's Toyota Supra was modified for the remaining copies of the orange Supra driven by Brian O'Connor in the first film.
Oh.
So the orange car from the first movie was turned into the brown Supra for the next movie.
Okay.
But this is very, very interesting, and some camera tricks with the Supra that I mentioned earlier. To make the car stand out from the rest, the production team designed a Lexan panel on the center of the hood that made the engine visible while letting hot air out at the same time. So it had like a clear window on the hood. To save the production staff thousands of dollars, the engine of the Hero car was photographed and sent to a local printing press in Miami, Florida, where the image was blown up to actual size, and the engine pictures were placed directly below the clear panels on the stunt vehicles.
Wow.
So the Hero car actually had like a built 2JZ in it. The other stunt vehicles had a picture of that engine just behind that piece of plastic.
Well, they had to do that because they bought a $2,000.
Oh yeah, but the carbon fiber wing was a must.
That was a very smart idea, though. That was
that could have been
cool.
that could have been Craig Lieberman's wing.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Okay, but yeah, I think that, that is clever to do, because for a stunt car, yeah, you're going to save yourself a lot of money by doing that, yeah.
Two more.
Okay.
This is an interesting one. This has to deal with that warehouse.
Okay.
So during the filming, the transmissions for several of the cars had to be constantly rebuilt, which I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But it never says why. These were sent out to a local shop in Miami named Alonzo Transmission to be rebuilt and delivered back to the production crew, who would then install them back into the vehicles themselves. Due to the production schedule, these had to be rebuilt on a very tight schedule, and the shop would sometimes have to work weekends or overnight to get them rebuilt in time. The large garage seen at the end of the film was the actual working location the production company used to swap out the transmissions once they received them back. Security was so tight at this facility that before being allowed in... Wait. I just lost my place. Hold on. Security was so tight at this facility that before being allowed in to deliver the transmissions, the shop representative was checked to make sure that there were no recording devices and even had to surrender his cell phone.
Okay.
As of January of 2016, Alonzo Transmission still has a letter sent to them by the production company after filming had been wrapped on display in their waiting area. The letter had listed the movie title as The Fast and the Furious 2, not Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay.
So this was like before they started filming, which is super cool. So yeah, that garage scene.
When was this? When was this movie released?
2003. So filmed in 2002.
Okay. So for some reason, when you said 2016,
hold on. I actually might have gotten that wrong, because it says the shop at the end of the movie.
Oh.
Isn't that a different shop?
What shop at the end of the movie?
Well, isn't that like when they have their money, don't they buy a shop?
They say they're going to buy a shop, but they don't actually buy a shop.
I actually might be confused about which shop they're talking about now. I thought it was. I thought that because towards the end of the movie was that big. I might be wrong about that.
I don't know.
Wow, this is the first time I've ever been wrong. This is
Ever.
a new. Yeah, I know. This is a new feeling for me. Let me walk through my emotions. I thought that was
Get
interesting,
used to it.
especially like they had to rebuild the transmissions so much. What were they doing?
Right, exactly.
I mean, like not double clutching like you should, to quote the first movie.
Right.
Granny shifting.
Yeah.
One last trivia fact, then we'll wrap up, and then we'll get to our next movie, which I'm excited about. So this is a very short one, but this was the last Fast and Furious movie to be released on VHS.
Wow.
Yeah, so Too Fast, Too Furious actually could have been purchased on VHS back in the day.
Wow.
So that was about the crossover of VHS. I remember we got our first DVD player right around 2003.
We probably did, yeah.
Because I remember the box of the DVD player. It had like that protective packaging.
Yeah.
And it looked like two military bases. I remember I played with the box probably more than I used the DVD player.
Well, I remember the very first movie that we bought, a DVD. The very first DVD we bought was My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I remember that, and I've never seen that movie.
I think we have it actually in our massive library, wherever that is. Not in
wherever
Florida.
That is. We don't bring that to Miami.
No. The ottoman we do, but we don't bring.
Yeah, we bring our leather ottoman.
But no, that was the first. So yeah, that was probably. And then when we got the 2000, it's 2004 Chrysler Pacifica.
Yeah.
That came.
It came with a DVD player in
which was awesome.
It was, but in hindsight, we should have opted for the sunroof.
I agree.
Because we used that DVD player when we drove to South Dakota in 2009.
We used it for a couple things, a couple trips, longer. Okay, we're gonna go somewhere, but not much. I rarely used it.
We outgrew it too quick.
Yeah. I agree that we should have gotten the sunroof. Yeah.
Oh well, beggars can't be. Well, sunroofs do pose a long-term issue with wiring and stuff. So.
Oh, do they?
If the seals go bad, you're gonna start leaking, and then. When you're leaking from the top down, well, that's the thing about the G6s.
Yeah.
The Pontiac G6s have if you have like a sunroof, you're screwed.
Really?
Because it's so common for the wiring to go bad because the seals go bad around the sunroof, and it just starts letting water in, and water just runs down essentially the inside of the roof. You never see it.
Right.
And it because I was a part of the G6 Owners Club for a long time on Facebook, and everyone with a sunroof had wiring issues.
Wow.
So it was actually kind of a blessing in disguise that we didn't have a sunroof.
I mean, I guess, but it was, I mean, the 2004 Chrysler Pacifica actually wasn't it made by Mercedes, or was it?
In conjunction with Mercedes.
Right.
We got 2 cars out of that deal.
Okay.
We got the Chrysler Pacifica, and we got the Chrysler Crossfire.
Oh, yeah, I remember the Crossfire.
Which actually, there was an SRT 6 Crossfire, which is actually a Mercedes AMG engine.
Huh.
Apparently they rip. I've never driven one. And then actually the Dodge Challenger was built off of an old C-Class chassis, Mercedes C-Class chassis, which they still use in 2021.
Really?
Yeah, they're still using a Mercedes platform like 20 years after Mercedes stopped using that platform.
Yeah, but I do have to say that the 2004 Chrysler Pacifica really has been a workhorse, except for the engine cradle. That was the major issue with that. The engine cradle was bad, but
heater core went bad.
I've replaced
and that weird throttle body issue we had where it would floor it in reverse.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
A little slightly dangerous, but
that was
besides
weird.
all of that,
it was different. But besides all that, it has been a workhorse. We've used it a ton. We still have it. That's 17 years.
Yeah, I still hate it, but yeah.
I know you hate it. We call it the dark mobile because all the windows are dark. You can't see out of it. And it was before backup cameras were mandatory, so you cannot see out of it.
Yeah, 14 years before they were mandatory.
Was it?
I want to get tints on my Mazda 3.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to do it that much. I do have a backup camera, though, and I have blind spot sensors, cross-traffic alert. Like, I have a lot more nannies.
You do have a lot of other stuff.
I think I'm going to end up doing it. I think I'm going to do like 35% around just like sitting in traffic. I feel like people can just stare right into me. Plus, with all my filming equipment, I don't want to advertise that.
Right. You don't. It's nice in the Pacifica if you put something in the back seat.
My RX-7's got dark tints on it.
Yeah. That's
dark tints on that blue car.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. I didn't put them on. Yeah. But you cannot see into the hatch.
I think it's just black spray paint that was painted on the window.
Done that. I know people that they've plasticked windows.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like those.
What, the smoke one? The smoke
No, just straight plastic.
Okay. Because there is a smoke
There is a
plastic,
smoked one, yeah. We did that to the I did that to the G6's taillights.
Okay.
I smoked them out for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it just looked terrible because it was like it's a transparent spray on.
Yeah.
And I didn't get them evenly. So like one of them was darker than the other, so I peeled it off.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine. That's the great thing about
the G6.
No, about the spray stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, unlike what I did to that hood.
The hood.
So we got that. I was washing it one night.
Yeah.
And I blew off a rock chip that was about the size of a quarter.
Okay.
So in the middle of the hood was just a
rock
chip.
Right.
So me, after a couple Coronas and being, I'm a car guy, I should be able to fix this.
Yeah.
I spray painted the hood. And I used a technique where I folded paper in order to make no hard lines.
Yeah.
Lies. Fake news. I spray painted a hard square in the middle of the hood.
I didn't know you used that technique because that is a legit technique, but I guess it doesn't work.
I didn't use it right because
I guess it doesn't work. That's a good question. I mean, I've seen it. I saw that technique used. Where you create supposedly a blurry.
Well, I think I made it too tight. Like I literally made a square of the folded paper.
Yeah.
Which ends up just being a square. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that car we sold it with 193,000 miles on it.
Which reminds me, we have a cardboard box full of paint that I ordered for that car.
Oh yeah, because we were going to try to fix
paint.
it. Yeah.
That matches the color. It's a Duplicolor, matches it perfectly.
I need to try to find a G6 Hot Wheels and paint it in the
actual color,
proper color.
That would
sick.
be, I
should do that.
Anyway, but I don't think we need 6 cans to do that.
Maybe I'll just do the RX-7 in Pontiac G6 Silver. What is it, Arctic Silver, whatever they call it.
It's weird, somewhere, but it was not easy to find anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no car store around here had that, so I actually had to order it online, and I was like, I'm gonna order a bunch of these because I know we're gonna be like repainting the car, and I had those.
Did it.
No, I had these grand ideas of things to do.
That car was also repainted before we got it.
I think so, yeah.
Because the clear coat on the back quarter panel was
it was bad. It
dollar
peeled
store
off.
clear
Peeled
coat.
off.
Yeah, it was bubbling.
It bubbled and peeled off. It was pretty bad.
And also, I remember the truck was PW7 was the paint.
Oh yeah,
code
that's
for
right. It was
Pure
You're
White
right.
7 from
Yep.
Mopar.
PW7. Yeah.
Which was also a very common Dodge Neon color.
Really?
To bring it full circle.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
So yeah, I this is probably one of my favorite Fast and Furious movies.
So
just such a fun watch.
Would you turn the channel?
No, God no.
Yeah.
I would drop everything that I'm doing.
If this was on, I would do the same. I actually would sit down and watch this one because it was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
It was really
I think I also have a lot of personal nostalgia with it,
Sure.
of course.
I actually
Being
do
one
in
of
a
the
way.
fun
Yeah,
things
I
like
do
that.
too,
I
yeah.
remember actually this was the first movie that when Bella and I started dating, I got my first kiss at home during this movie.
Really?
Yeah, we were watching this movie down here.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
first kiss was actually at our school dance.
Was it?
Yeah, to an Adele
it?
song. During the slow dancing portion, and took my grandparents' Cadillac.
Was it
SRX.
Rumor Had It? Was that
No,
it
it was not rolling in the deep as everyone always thinks. You're kind of high. Yeah, no. It
Boy,
wasn't
if
that
I close
song.
my eyes,
Yeah,
I
I know.
can. It just
it's like you're in that sweaty field house in high school as a
No,
nervous high schooler.
Yeah, I don't know. So
yeah,
whatever happened to that Bella?
What? Oh, she's still around, I think.
No, I said that today. I said that to Mom. I was like,
Yeah.
what about that Bella? Yeah.
Yeah, she's still around.
Yep,
She's
that's
still
good.
kicking.
That's good.
5 years later, for some reason.
Yeah, she's studying like microbiology or something.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of nostalgia with this movie. And
I do too. Actually, believe it
Yeah.
or not, I actually do, and it's one of the more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And plus the fact that we have it. But yeah, I would actually watch it. And I know you would. Too.
Oh yeah. So would you change the channel or no?
Absolutely not. I would not change the channel, and I might actually just stop what I'm doing and go sit down and watch it.
It also it does depend on the part of the movie.
Yeah,
like in the middle,
yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I'll keep working.
Right? Yeah.
But like I am dropping what I'm doing to watch Ejectocito.
Yeah.
And the car jump. And the warehouse scene.
Yes.
And the beginning, middle, and end.
So pretty much any part of the movie you would stop and watch.
Yeah,
this
the first
movie.
part's good. The second part's really good, and the third part's good. It's all good. I would drop what I'm doing to watch this movie.
It is
100%.
It is an enjoyable movie. I have to say, I enjoyed this one even more than the first Fast and Furious. I don't know. I'm going to have to see. It's going to be interesting to see as we go through. Like,
get ready to just lose your respect for the franchise.
Wow,
After this next
wow.
one, it's
Fast and Furious French fries.
Fast and Furious franchise.
French fries.
Yeah. Freedom. Remember when we were trying to get them changed to Freedom Fries?
Yeah.
What was that about? Did we have beef with the French in
yeah,
the
we
mid-2000s
did.
or something?
We did. Because
there's like a movement to get them changed to Freedom Fries.
Yeah, because I think they didn't support us.
Who cares?
Whatever. I know, exactly. So what are you going to... Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. You ready for the next movie?
What's our next movie?
All right.
Did you have it here?
I have it right here.
You have it in a popcorn bag.
I
I thought that you just brought... Oh, jeez. ASMR. That's the worst ASMR in the world. Jeez.
This is our hard tech. Can you hear me? I'm opening up the bag.
There's some person in a Kia that's trying to
probably cursing
desperately
me out
turn
now.
down their radio.
Okay, you
All
ready?
right, yep.
Herbie the Love Bug. Yes. So we've never had this, but this is the actual first Herbie the Love Bug. And it's actually not called Herbie, it's just called the Love Bug.
Oh.
Yes. And so this one is like a special edition. I think there's 2 DVDs in here. So this will be interesting because I have not seen this movie in a long time. It's The Love Bug by Walt Disney.
I watched it last year.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to break your heart.
No.
It is on Disney Plus. So I hope you didn't pay too much for that sweet DVD.
Well, no. I got it at Disc Replay.
How much?
$3.33.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to foreclose.
No. we're gonna have to Airbnb your room.
Oh,
is what we're gonna have to do. So,
but for anyone who wants to watch along, if you do have it on, if you do have Disney Plus, you can prepare for next week. By just logging onto there. I think that is a movie to own, though. The Love Bug, I think is
so.
As a car enthusiast, I feel like that's. There's some parts in that movie that have haunted me, and also.
As a kid,
it gets dark for a second when Herbie runs away.
Yeah, it
But
does.
I mean, we'll save that for next week.
I don't know when this was made, but yeah, I actually remember this as a kid.
Right?
I remember this as a kid, and some of it did freak me out a little bit. And I always wanted to have a car that I could like talk to, and it would actually open the door automatically and stuff. I don't know.
But you hated Transformers.
I didn't hate Transformers.
You disliked it.
Don't
lie to the viewers. You really disliked it. That's why I like Transformers so much. Is it was like a kid my age in suburbia, and he's talking to his car.
All right, so I can give you that, but like it. Yeah, we'll talk about this more obviously next time. But it will be a fun one. For me, a lot of nostalgia. You talk about nostalgia.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A lot of nostalgia. I think we talked about it before. I was in an accident in a VW, and then also my brother had a VW bug. So a lot of fun stuff. But we can talk about that more. But that's pretty much it. We're at 124.
Oh wow, that's actually a shorter one.
It is. This is fairly short. So
Ejectocito cuts this podcast.
Right.
But thank you guys so much for listening. Next week we'll be talking about the Love Bug. 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings, as always. That's our release schedule, so catch us next week. Yeah. Thanks for paying attention.
I don't pay attention to nothing.
But thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, sounds good. Goodbye.